Hello friends, this is your friend back with a new fanfic. What if Naruto's Madara lineage made him unstoppable and he built a deep romance with Hinata? Episode 1. If you like this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Now, a hidden truth buried for generations is about to change Naruto's life forever. What if the blood of one of history's most feared shinobi flowed through his veins all along? Now, let's start. Training Ground 44 is also known as the Forest of Death. It is Konoha's deadliest training ground reserved only for Chunins and Anbu. The forest itself contains various monsters and other deadly animals from big spiders to gigantic bears and tigers. The Forest of Death is the traditional place for the second round of every Chunin exam done in the Leaf. The Chunin exams are hosted in various countries and rotated. Every 3 years the Chunins happen in the Leaf. To everyone in Konoha, the Forest of Death, as the name says, is hell and one place to not come near. Obviously this doesn't apply to the crazy snake lady, also known as Anko. To her this place is her home away from home and the reason she is always in charge of the second round. Of the original 200 applicants to the Chunin exams, more than half failed in the first task. Now we are currently at the entrance of the Forest of Death. Alright maggots, welcome to my home, Training Ground 44, also known as the Forest of Death. Anko said he got the desired reactions from a few of the genin, which was fear as they should be. Even Chunin can't wander through the forest without getting hurt. Anko spotted Naruto and noticed he wasn't affected and decided to play a little game. Anko threw a kunai that was going to slightly cut his cheek, however the kunai simply phased through Naruto and hit the ground. Naruto got a worried look and very quickly in a panic began checking himself with his hands to see if he was in one piece. "Oh good, I'm not a ghost," Naruto said and smirked when he saw everyone looked on in disbelief. Anko vanished in a blur and appeared behind Naruto with a kunai at his neck. "You seem confident. It's kids like you who get killed first," Anko said, pressing her body against his back and licking his cheek. Hinata's eyebrow twitched, was about to juken the bitch away from Naruto when she saw him smirking. Naruto dissolved into a bunch of black crows that flew away and started circling Anko. The crows flew towards her and quickly turned into shuriken heading to Anko. Genjutsu. Kai, Anko thought and flared her chakra making the shuriken disappear. She looked around and found Naruto not far away smiling at her. Genjutsu, not bad brat, she said, and you don't seem scared of the forest, Anko stated. Meh, those things are nothing compared to the furball, Naruto said and Anko snickered. He had to have balls to call the Kyuubi furball. I told you I am not a furball, Kurama yelled inside his mind. Actually you kind of are. You have fur and it's so soft and cuddly, Naruto squealed in a fangirlish way. Kurama simply sweat dropped and cursed to Kami why he had to end up in this vessel. Alright brats, let me explain how this works. See these, Anko said and showed everyone 2 scrolls she had on her hands. These are the Earth and Heaven scrolls. Each team gets one. In order to pass this exam you must get the other and reach the tower which is located in the middle of the forest. You have 5 days, Anko explained. What about food? Choji asked, panicking over the fact that they would spend 5 days in a forest surrounded by monsters. You can hunt if you don't bring any supplies, Anko said. Also you need to sign these documents so that Konoha can't be blamed for your deaths, she concluded and Fu shivered at the thought. Oh yes, there will be deaths. Just thinking about blood makes me jump for joy, Anko said in a far too happy tone. Anko proceeded to distribute the forms and once everyone had signed and got their scroll each team made its way to their respective gate. Gate 10 to 5 minutes before start. How shall we do this? Shino asked. They decided to define their plan before the exam began. How about we head straight to the tower? If we find any team we take them out, otherwise we can set traps for them at the tower, Naruto said, and Shino and Hinata nodded. Shino, do you think you can keep up and run for 10 miles? Naruto asked. It should be fine, Shino replied. Okay, get set. 3, 2, 1. Go, Anko said over the speaker, and Team 8 jumped into action, running through the gates and heading towards the tower. Kage Bushin no Jutsu, Naruto said, and 15 clones appeared. Divide into 5 teams and scout ahead while one stays behind to make sure we have a backup plan in case we fall into a trap, Naruto ordered, and 4 groups of clones ran in the front and to the sides while one group would follow behind them. Hinata uses your Byakugan just to make sure no one bypasses my clones, Naruto said, and Hinata nodded, activating her Byakugan. Naruto also extended his senses and Shino used his bugs. Team 8 were, among other things, tracking experts, so nothing came close to them without them knowing. They ran through the woods until Naruto got feedback from one of his clones. Aim team 100 meters ahead, Naruto said, and everyone approached with caution. Team 8 stealthily approached the unsuspecting aim team. Naruto and Hinata took a few Senbon, and with the precision of a surgeon they placed the 3 members into a death-like state by hitting them in the neck with the Senbon. They reached the fallen aim team and went through their bags until they found the Earth Scroll. Nice, just the one we need. Let's go to the tower full speed. If you can't, I'll carry you, Shino, Naruto said, and Shino shook his head. They were heading to the tower at full speed when Team 8 sensed a massive chakra spike. That is no Genin, and no Jinchuriki, Naruto said, and the team came to a stop looking at where it came from. I'm going to check it out. You guys go to the tower, you have my Hirishin marker if you need help. Once I'm done I'll teleport to your location, Naruto said. Why? Hinata asked. It might be one of ours that is in trouble, Naruto replied, and prepared to jump away. Be careful, Hinata kissed his cheek. For luck, she said. Don't worry, Naruto replied, and jumped into the woods. Seconds later he was gone. Hinata sighed, and the rest of Team 8 was heading to the tower. Naruto was running towards the location of the chakra spike when he sensed 2 presences near him. He checked their chakra levels and found that one was around Jonin while the other had Kage levels reserves. He recognized the Jonin's chakra, it was Anko. However, the other was unknown. He never felt that chakra anywhere in the leaf, and there wasn't anyone in the village with that much amount of chakra except himself and the Hokage. Naruto approached them with extreme caution. He could hear them talk, and Anko seemed angry and scared. Anko being scared was not a good thing. Ah, Anko-chan, how have you been? The other voice asked in a mocking tone. What are you doing here, Orochimaru? Anko asked, spitting his name. Orochimaru. Shit, Naruto thought as he continued to observe and jump in if necessary. I was just dropping off a gift to a promising genin, Orochimaru cryptically said. You didn't? Anko rhetorically asked. Why so mad, Anko-chan? Didn't you like my gift? Orochimaru asked. Anko got enough of his. She drew a kunai and rushed him. Orochimaru placed his hand in the tiger seal and activated her curse mark, making her fall into the ground screaming in pain. You forget your place, Orochimaru said. Tsunejishu, hidden snake hands, Orochimaru said, and extended his arm towards Anko, sending a couple of snakes to bite her. Kaiten. Hosenka no Jutsu, Phoenix Fire Technique, Naruto said, and sent multiple small fireballs towards the snakes and destroyed them. Naruto jumped in between Orochimaru and Anko. He approached her and noticed she was clutching her neck. Naruto saw that in her neck was a strange mark that seemed to glow. Curse mark, Naruto thought. My little genin came to her rescue. How cute, Orochimaru said in a mocking tone. Any ideas, Fox? Naruto asked. That snake must be here for some reason. Any real fight here would attract too much attention. Flare my chakra and try to hold him off, Kurama suggested, and Naruto flared the Kyuubi's chakra high enough to draw attention to any Anbu patrolling the area. Kyuubi brat, Orochimaru thought. My if it isn't the Kyuubi brat, I guess I can play for a while, Orochimaru said. Orochimaru, what are you doing here? Naruto asked, trying to buy some time, snakes tend to be slippery. So you know me. I'm honored, Orochimaru said chuckling. I'm here to leave a small gift to the Uchiha, he said. Gift? You call a damn curse seal a gift? Naruto asked, getting mad. Stay focused, Kit. He isn't someone who you can play around, Kurama said. Of course it's a gift. When he destroys the sound team I sent to kill him, he will realize the power that comes from it, Orochimaru said. Sasuke. You bastard, you already did this to Anko and now Sasuke, Naruto said and rushed towards Orochimaru and engaged in taijutsu. A little hot-headed aren't you? Orochimaru asked. Naruto smirked and said, Katsu, and his clone exploded sending Orochimaru crashing into a tree. Now that was surprising, Orochimaru said as he watched Naruto leave the bush he was hiding. What do you want Sasuke for? Naruto asked. I simply wish for his eyes, Orochimaru said. The Sharingan. Then it would be wise to hide mine. I don't want a pedophile after me, Naruto thought and once again rushed him for a taijutsu battle. Orochimaru simply dodged every single attack Naruto did by bending his body to unnatural angles. Is this it? Orochimaru asked in a taunting tone. It's time for the big guns, Naruto thought and took a whole different stance. He activated his M's and hid it. His face was completely emotionless with his cold blue eyes staring into Orochimaru. Kaiten. Karyuden no Jutsu, Fire Dragon Bullet, Naruto said and sent fire bullets to Orochimaru who simply dodged them all. Naruto decided to use a wide-range attack. He made a Kage Bushin and both said. Kaiten. Ryuka no Jutsu, Dragon Fire Technique. Futen. Daitapa, Great Breakthrough. The result was a big wide area of effect stream of fire that rushed Orochimaru and torched the surroundings area. Anko just watched in wonder. There were some Jonin that couldn't even do these without passing out from chakra exhaustion. The fire died down and Naruto watched Orochimaru as he slowly crumbled away until he poofed in smoke revealing it to be a Kawarimi. Naruto searched around and sensed Orochimaru just in time to jump away from a hand that shot out of the ground trying to catch him. Orochimaru resurfaced and Naruto appeared behind him as well. Reikiri, lightning cutter, Naruto yelled as he rose from the ground and went to stab Orochimaru through the chest. Orochimaru didn't expect such a technique from a genin and quickly got out of the way. However, he wasn't fast enough and the Reikiri managed to chop his right arm off. This brat is dangerous, if I hadn't dodged he could have killed me, Orochimaru thought as he observed Naruto who wasn't even showing signs of stopping. My you are really something. It's a shame you can't be my next vessel, Orochimaru said as he opened his mouth to inhuman proportions and spouted out another Orochimaru leaving the skin of the old behind. What are you? Naruto asked, getting a little disgusted as Orochimaru just spouted himself from inside himself. It's been fun but I must go now, see you around, Orochimaru said and sank into the ground. He decided to leave as he sensed two groups on Anbu incoming. Naruto turned to Anko who had an amazed look on. You okay Anko? He asked. Holy shit brat, that was amazing, Anko yelled but quickly recoiled in pain just the Anbu dropped accompanied by the Sandame. Naruto-kun, what happened? The Hokage asked. He was wearing his full battle gear that primarily consisted of a full tight black body suit with metal shields in his arms and legs. Orochimaru is here and I think he activated Anko's curse mark, Naruto said and the Hokage's eyes widened. What are you doing here? The Hokage asked to himself but loud enough for Naruto to hear. He's after the Sharingan of Sasuke. I believe he gave him the curse mark as well, Naruto explained and the old man sighed. His prodigy of a student turned out to be his greatest mistake. Take Anko to the hospital, the Hokage said and the Anbu vanished. Naruto do have the scrolls, he asked and Naruto nodded. But I'll go after Sasuke. Orochimaru sent a sound team to kill him, Naruto said. Alright, be careful. I already risked a good lot by interfering in the exams, the Hokage said and left the forest. Naruto made cage bushings and spread them through the forest as wide as he could so he could find Sasuke as quickly as possible. Naruto ran through the forest as quickly as he could, covering the area he could. 1 hour later he finally sensed Sakura's chakra signature. He could sense Sasuke's but he felt it was slightly different and weaker. He arrived where Sakura was and noticed there was a mayhem going on. Sakura was on the ground with her hair cut in half and multiple kunai wounds. Lee was also there but he was bleeding from his ears and a few bruises. Team 10 seemed to be trying to hold off the sound team but to no avail and finally Kiba, who was in the ground, apparently knocked out cold. Pathetic, all of you, Dosu said, smirking as he picked up kunai and made his way towards Sasuke to kill him, and no one could stop him. Naruto shunshined in front of him and quickly delivered a good kick to him that sent him into the ground. Everyone was happy to see that someone had arrived to help, even if it was Naruto. Another one, these guys just keep coming, Zaku said, getting pissed off. Every time they tried to kill the Uchiha someone got in the way. Why don't you just leave, you are no match for me, Naruto said, smirking. I'll get that smile out of your face. Dosu snickered and flexed his arm, showing his gauntlet. Melody arm, Dosu said as he channeled chakra to his arm. Naruto, who had his Sharingan activated, could see the sound waves filled with chakra. That can't be good. Kamui, Naruto thought. Dosu sensed as the waves traveled the air and hit Naruto only to do nothing. Naruto waited a few seconds and noticed everyone was stopped and looking between him and Dosu. Was that supposed to do something? Naruto asked inwardly, smirking. The rest of the rookies that were awake stared at the blonde. Lee was taken down with that jutsu and yet Naruto remained there as if nothing happened. That gauntlet must be defective, I'll deal with this, Zaku said and stepped forward, intending to end the battle in one attack. Zenkuaha, decapitating air waves, Zaku said, and channeling chakra through his arms he sent a gust of wind towards Naruto. Naruto stood in place and activated his Kamui to let the attack pass through him. Zaku watched as the dust cloud started to disappear only to find Naruto in the same place. What a nice breeze, Naruto said, smirking. Zaku got mad and channeled as much chakra as he could through the pipes that ran deep beneath the skin. Zenkyokukuaha, extreme decapitating air waves, Zaku said and sent a powerful gust of wind towards the enemy. Naruto watched the guest come and noticed he had to take Sasuke and Kiba out of the way. He rushed towards them and activated his Kamui to protect them as well. Once the attack was over and the dust cloud set down, Zaku smirked as he scanned the area he attacked only to find nothing. I blew them to little bits, Zaku said, smirking with confidence. Reikiri. Zaku turned just in time to see a hand covered in lightning pierce through his chest and heart. Zaku gave a silent scream that didn't leave his mouth as he fell to the ground dead. Dosu and Kin's eyes widened at seeing his teammate fall to the ground dead. The blonde kid was playing with them the whole time. The blonde had killed Zaku with one attack and they didn't even see him move. If you give us the scroll you can leave peacefully, Naruto said in an emotionless tone. The rookies just watched as Naruto effortlessly killed the shinobi they were having trouble with. Sakura was trembling with fear from both the sound team and the arrival of Naruto. He had just killed someone in cold blood. He pierced someone's chest with his own hand. Dosu was trembling as he picked his scroll and left it in the ground and quickly left running along with his last teammate Kin. How nice of you to join us, Neji, Naruto said as he sensed the teammates of Lee arrived at the scene. What happened here? What did you do to Lee? Neji asked, activating his Byakugan and getting ready to attack until he got his answers. Suddenly a blast of chakra was felt by everyone in the area. They all turned to see Sasuke slowly rising up with some sort of purple chakra swirling around him. His body was covered in some sort of black tattoo. Yes, with this power I'll kill him, Sasuke said to no one. He could feel the power coursing through his body. A gift from Orochimaru. Sasuke looked around for someone to test his new powers in and quickly locked eyes with Naruto, who was standing near a dead body. Naruto, fight me, I want to test my new powers, Naruto commanded and quickly rushed Naruto and engaged in a taijutsu battle. Sasuke-kun, stop this, Sakura said, crying on the ground. This was all too much for her. She had to defend Sasuke and Kiba and got crushed. She watched as someone bit Sasuke in the neck and gave him some strange marking, and she was watching Sasuke apparently out of control. I don't have time for this. I can't allow him to use this curse mark any longer, Naruto thought. Naruto quickly outmaneuvered Sasuke and got behind, trapping him with his arms. Neji, do you mind? Naruto rhetorically asked. Neji smirked and got down from the tree. He arrived near the Uchiha, activated his Byakugan and quickly knocked him out by closing a few key tenketsus. Naruto sighed. Now that everything is more calm, let's leave this place. Everyone has their scrolls? Naruto asked and everyone nodded. Okay. Everyone touched a part of me and let's leave, Naruto said, and they just stared at him. He wanted them to touch him. What do you mean to touch you? Neji asked, narrowing his eyes. Just place a hand on my shoulder or something like that. Neji picks up Lee. Sakura picked up Sasuke and Kiba, Naruto said, and everyone got ready around Naruto. They all vanished, and in what seemed to be an instant they all dropped down near the tower where Hinata and Shino were sitting waiting for Naruto. Geez, teleporting so many with me really takes a good chunk of chakra, Naruto thought as he regained his breath. Naruto, Hinata rushed to check on him. What happened? She asked. Team 7 got ambushed by Orochimaru, he replied, and she gasped. Naruto, how did you bring us to the tower so fast? Tenten asked curiously. Naruto started sweating. He didn't think much about it. It would be a mess if they found out already. It's a space-time technique like the summoning jutsu. I can teleport to Hinata, Naruto explained, hoping they would believe in him and not ask too many questions. She nodded and everyone entered the tower only to find an empty room. I think we should open the scrolls, Hinata said, and Naruto opened the scrolls. He opened them and saw it was a summoning scroll. Quick, toss them in the ground, Naruto yelled as the scroll started to leak out smoke. Both scrolls disappeared in the middle of the smoke. When it cleared, there was a person standing in the middle of the room. Congratulations on passing the second round, she said. Team 8 looked up to see Kurenai standing in front of them. Sensei, everyone said at the same time. Come on, let's get inside. You and the rest of Leaf's teams were the second to arrive. Only the Sand team is already here. You have 4 days to rest and get your strength back up, Kurenai said, and led her team into the respective rooms where they would be staying. Team 8 was walking towards their assigned rooms. Since they completed the second task of the Chunin exams in 1 day, they could relax and recover during the 4 available days. Naruto-kun, Hinata said, getting Naruto's attention. If I had to fight Gaara, do you think I could win? She asked. They continued walking and Naruto was thinking. After a few minutes he decided to reply. I don't really know what he can do, but when we met him, he had sand around him, and apparently he is the son of the 4th Cage, so he probably can control sand with his chakra. Since you are a water type, you can drench his sand in water to make it slower and more chakra demanding to use, forcing him to waste more chakra. But if he decides to use his Biju, then I think you would lose, unless you do that trick I taught you, he said, grinning. I guess you're right, she replied. Shino just heard the conversation with interest. This year there was a lot of tough competition. His bugs wouldn't do much against a Biju, since primarily he uses them to drain the enemy's chakra, and draining a biju might take a while. They arrived at their room and found it a standard room. It had 3 single beds, a small bathroom, a small desk with chairs and a window. "Do you think you will be able to sleep without me?" Naruto said, grinning. "Oh, I'm not sleeping without you," she said, walking towards him. "If you hold me close enough, I think we will be just fine," she replied and kissed him. "I like the idea," he said, smiling and holding her. "Want to go eat something?" he asked, and she nodded. "Hey Shino, do you want to come?" he asked, and the bug boy simply nodded. They finished unpacking and left their stuff in the room. Team 8 got out of the room and walked through the hall, heading towards the other floors. The tower in the middle of the Death Forest was relatively small. It had 5 floors. The first was reception in the arena, the second was the kitchen, the third and fourth floors were the rooms and bathrooms, and the last floor was the administrative and surveillance room. They made their way down the floors and quickly found the kitchen. There was plenty of food already prepared due to the Chunin exams. They entered the kitchen and noticed that they weren't alone. Inside the kitchen there was the Sand team. "Hey Gaara," Naruto said, waving as he entered the kitchen. Both Kankuro and Temari instantly stiffened as they knew that Gaara could flip at any time. Hinata and Shino were just a bit weary of them. "Uzumaki Naruto," Gaara said, eyeing Naruto carefully. "You interest me," he said. "Sorry, but I don't swing that way, besides I already have a girlfriend," Naruto said, chuckling and kissing Hinata's cheek. Gaara's eyes twitched at his statement. Temari and Kankuro were wondering if all Leaf Shinobis had a death wish. "Mother will have your blood and then everyone will acknowledge my existence," Gaara with a sick smile. "Mother, you do realize Shukaku is male, right?" Naruto asked, "and you don't have to kill to have people noticing you," he finished. "It doesn't matter, once I kill you I shall forever prove my existence," Gaara said. "You want people to acknowledge you rather than find people to protect. Instead of killing them, fight to protect them, and those few precious people will acknowledge you forever," Naruto explained. "You fight to protect people?" Gaara asked. "Yes, that is right. Your true strength emerges when you fight to protect those you care about," Naruto said. "Fool, we are nothing but murderers. We live to kill. We are weapons," Gaara said. Kankuro and Temari were listening to the conversation and wondering if they should leave because this conversation seemed to be heating up. "I never considered myself a weapon," Naruto said. "You are a fool and I shall prove it to you. Once I kill you everyone will notice my existence," Gaara said. "Fine then. When we meet in the arena I shall prove to you that acknowledgement comes from people that care about you," Naruto said, and he and his team left the room, leaving a thirsty Gaara behind. "Hey Haim, I'm going to talk with Anko, I'll meet you later," Naruto said. "All right, see you later," she replied and gave him a quick kiss. Floor 5 surveillance room. Naruto separated from his team and headed towards the 5th floor. He walked towards said room and knocked on the door. He opened it, and in the room there was the Hokage, Anko, Ibiki and a few Chunins. "Do you need Naruto-kun?" the Hokage asked as he watched the blonde enter the room. "Can I talk to you in private with Anko?" Naruto asked, and Anko raised an eyebrow, wondering what the kid wanted. "Of course," the Hokage replied and made a gesture for everyone to leave the room except Anko. Naruto flashed through a few hand seals and said, "Sound barrier seal." There was a small flash of light and suddenly vanished. Anko was surprised by seeing a genin using these types of seals. But she knew what kind of life Naruto had lived, and if he wanted to survive he would have to pick up his pace. "Now then, I would like to check out that curse seal if you don't mind," Naruto said, and Anko involuntarily brought her to her neck. "Why do you want to see it?" she asked. She didn't like talking about her past. "I want to know if I'm capable of removing it," Naruto said, and Anko started laughing. "Kid, I'll give you that you are strong, but this seal can't be removed," Anko regretfully said. Any seal can be broken, Naruto said. Have faith, besides it doesn't hurt to try. Come on Anko, you don't know but Naruto is a seal master, the Hokage said. Anko raised an eyebrow and watched him carefully. You are telling me this kid is a seal master? The only one in the leaf is Jiraiya of the Sannin and even he already tried, Anko said. Yes, he's telling you the truth. He already provided our village with a few seals of his own. Improve exploding tags, remotely detonated tags and his own creation flash tags, the Hokage explained. Anko still had her doubts. I'll make a bet with you. If I can't remove it I'll pay you all you can eat at the dango shop, however if I can remove it you do the same for me in the ramen stand, he said grinning. Fine, Anko said, sighing and removed her coat so Naruto could more easily have access to her curse mark. Naruto activated his Sharingan to perfectly memorize the seal. He placed his fingers on the curse mark and channeled a bit of chakra. He noticed the mark slightly glowing and made Anko slightly wince. It must be tuned to Orochimaru's chakra signature, Naruto thought. Anko, I need you to activate the curse seal please, Naruto said and stayed watching her chakra network carefully with his Sharingan to notice the changes. Fine, she replied. Anko channeled chakra to her curse seal and it began spreading across her whole body. Black markings were originating from the seal and spreading across her skin reaching the whole body. Naruto watched carefully with his Sharingan, analyzing every small change. Interesting, Naruto said and closed his eyes. What do you think about Kurama? Can we force your chakra into the seal to break it? Naruto asked. Forcing my chakra would destroy the curse seal but would most likely badly poison her. She wouldn't survive without a very good medic around, Kurama replied. Naruto opened his eyes and saw both of them staring at him. I was talking to the furball about it, Naruto said. Can you talk to it? Anko asked. Yes but it's not it, it's him, Naruto replied seriously. Anyway I could force the Kyuubi's chakra to it and destroy it but it would poison you. It would require Ba-chan herself to be able to stabilize you long enough to remove it, Naruto explained. Ba-chan? Anko asked. My grandmother Tsunade, Naruto replied. Holy shit, you are her grandson, Anko half yelled. Tsunade was a legend among all of Kunoichi. She was whatever Kunoichi wanted to be. Strong and beautiful and with the right, assets. Yes but keep it to yourself. Now I noticed that besides leaking chakra it also sends a few chemicals to the bloodstream most likely to create addiction and increase the body's stamina and strength. Either way I would need Ba-chan to remove it either using the Kyuubi or not, Naruto said and he could see the frown on her face. Tsunade had left the village years ago. There is one thing I can do, be right back, Naruto said and vanished in a yellow flash. The Hokage's and Anko's eyes widened. They hadn't seen that flash in over 14 years. Was that? Anko stuttered. The Hokage managed to regain sense and asked, now do you believe me? Anko only managed to dumbly nod. A few minutes later Naruto reappeared in the room with a large scroll in his hands. Naruto placed the scroll on the ground and opened it to show a very big and complex sealing array. Anko sit in the middle of the scroll please, Naruto said and got a look of confusion. He sighed and continued, I may not be able to remove the seal alone but I can place a restriction and block seal that will permanently lock away the seal. Basically you would have to force chakra to the seal to activate it and you will no longer have the constant pain, Naruto explained and Anko quickly sat on the scroll. Alright let's do it, Anko said, getting ready for the constant pain to leave her. It may hurt a little bit while the seal is applied, Naruto said. I'm used to pain, Anko said. Okay, Naruto walked up to Anko and placed his hand in her curse mark. A few seconds later kanji erupted from his hands and spread across Anko and the scroll. Ready? Naruto asked and she nodded. Fujihoin evil sealing method, Naruto said, and in an instant all the kanji began rushing towards his hand that was placed in her curse seal. Anko bit her lip in pain, but she could handle it. After a few minutes all the kanji reached the curse seal and formed a ring around the curse seal as if locking it. Naruto removed his hand and Anko relaxed. "We are done. How do you feel?" Naruto asked. A second later Anko was all over him, kissing and pressing her body against his, much to the jealousy of the old Hokage who had a trickle of blood flowing in his nose. "Okay Anko, I have a girlfriend you know," Naruto rhetorically asked. "Don't worry kid. Besides, it was my way to say thank you. Even though it is still here, it no longer hurts, I can barely feel it on my neck," Anko said, happy. "Don't mention it." Naruto started. "Hey Gigi, do you think you could bring Sasuke here for me to do the same to him?" Naruto asked. The Hokage nodded and said, "Bore." Immediately in front of him appeared an Anbu kneeling before him. "Hi Hokage-sama," the Anbu said. "Bring me Uchiha Sasuke," the Hokage ordered, and the Anbu left. Naruto turned to the Hokage. "Do you think he will accept to have it blocked?" Naruto asked. "Why wouldn't he?" the Hokage said, raising an eyebrow. "You do realize he intends to kill his brother, right?" Naruto asked, and the Hokage nodded. "And do you think he will gladly forget this power?" Naruto asked. "I see your point, but I have faith he will make the right choice," the old Hokage said. "He's naive. All Uchihas must burn," Kurama said, chuckling evilly. "What the hell Kurama, I have Uchiha blood," Naruto screaming. "You and your father are different. You are not power-hungry fools and you are not arrogant, well, except when you are in the middle of battles," Kurama said. "I only say that stuff to piss the enemy off. If he gets angry he will make mistakes I will capitalize on," Naruto replied. They waited for a few minutes until Anbu appeared in the room, followed by a pissed-off Sasuke who, by the looks of it, just woke up from Neji's induced sleep. "What do you want?" Sasuke said, glaring at Naruto. "We need you to sit in the middle of the scroll to seal your curse mark," Naruto answered. "Why would I want to do that? I need this power," Sasuke said. "Idiot. You would be willing to be used as a puppet so that you could kill your brother?" Naruto asked. "Shut up. You don't know anything and I would gladly give my life if it meant to kill him," Sasuke said, and Naruto just shook his head. "Fine. Sit in the scroll anyway. Since for now it's impossible to remove the curse seal safely without killing the host, I'm applying a suppression seal that allows for the host to have better control over the seal," Naruto explained, and Sasuke smirked. "You shouldn't use it. I can see that the host tends to develop an addiction to its power," Naruto explained, and Sasuke simply shrugged it off. "It was a gift and I intend to use it," Sasuke said, and Naruto shook his head. "This might hurt a little," Naruto said, but didn't mind much. He did the same steps as for Anko and placed his hand on his curse seal. "Fujihoin evil sealing method," Naruto said. Sasuke screamed for a few minutes, and when it was completed he fell to the floor unconscious. "Bore, take him to his room. He must be exhausted from the forest of death," the Hokage said, and the Anbu took off. "See you guys in 4 days," Naruto said and left the room, followed by a very happy Anko. "You would be so proud of your son Minato, Kushina," the Hokage thought as he also left the room. He had preparations to do for the finals. 4 days later. The next 4 days went by without any trouble and they were boring as hell. They weren't allowed to leave the tower until the end of the second phase of the Chunin exams. During these 4 days a few more teams arrived at the tower. As he expected, the team from Taki and Kumo also arrived. Every competitor was summoned to the arena and filled it, facing the Hokage. The arena room was pretty much empty. The room had a giant statue with a shinobi doing the ram hand seal. There were 2 balconies, one on each side of the room for the spectators. Behind the statue was a big electric board. First I must congratulate you all for passing the second round of the Chunin exams, the Hokage said, and a few smirked, thinking they were the best. Now the Hokage started but was interrupted by another shinobi. Do you mind if I continue, Hokage-sama? Shinobi asked, and the Hokage shook his head. My name is Gecko Hayate and I'm the proctor of this part of the Chunin exams, Hayate said. He had short brown hair and dark markings under his eyes. Even though he was a young man, he had pronounced lines under his eyes as well as an unexplained chronic cough that plagued him. He wore the standard Konoha shinobi outfit complete with a forehead protector that he wore as a bandana, flak jacket and regular shinobi sandals. He also carried a katana with a rectangular hand guard strapped over his back. Before we can proceed we will need to have preliminary matches, Hayate said, and the genins erupted in protest. What do you mean by preliminary matches? Kiba asked. We didn't expect this many people to pass the exam, so we have to thin out the contestants. During the third phase of the exam many nobles will assist the matches and their time is precious to not be unnecessarily wasted, Hayate explained, and a few were against it. Why should we risk our lives for this? Someone yelled. I think you misunderstand the meaning of the Chunin exams, the Hokage said, and everyone turned to face him. The Chunin exams are used to promote promising genins to Chunin, however there is somewhat of an underlying objective. The Chunin exams are a substitute for war and to prove that the country that is competing is strong. The strength of a village is the strength of their shinobi, and the strength of their shinobi only flourishes in life and death battles, the Hokage explained. By having shinobi compete in the Chunin exams the country can prove their strength, which will award them a higher number of missions bringing more wealth to the village, the Hokage concluded. Before we begin, is there anyone who wishes to forfeit? Hayate asked, and no one stepped forward. Very well, we shall begin now. The match ends by either knockout, death or impairment. If I declare the winner, will the match end immediately? Hayate said, eyeing them seriously, and everyone nodded. The names will appear on that electric board randomly, Hayate explained as the board started shuffling through names. Since we have an odd number of contestants, one of you will advance immediately to the third round of the Chunin exams, Hayate explained as the board went by random names. Sabaku no Kankuro will have a free pass, Hayate said. Lucky. I can go to the finals without showing my skills, Kankuro thought. The board started going through new names until it stopped. Will Uchiha Sasuke and Ren Izumi step forward? The rest of you please go to the balconies, Hayate explained, and everyone left the arena except Sasuke and Izumi, who were staring at each other. In the balcony Go Sasuke-kun, Sakura yelled, cheering for her Uchiha. Might as well see if I learn anything, Naruto said, activating his Sharingan, and proceeded to analyze the matches. Uchiha Sasuke vs. Ren Izumi Fighters ready? Hayate asked, and both nodded. Hajime, Hayate said, and jumped back. As soon Hayate started the match, Sasuke rushed towards the enemy and went for a low kick. As Sasuke expected, Izumi jumped up, and Sasuke took this opportunity to quickly continue his rotation and place a kick on Izumi's stomach, making him fly to the ground. Give up, you are no match for the Uchihas, Sasuke smugly said. Izumi slowly got up and cleaned his lip that got busted when he crashed into the ground. Izumi, angered by being bested in that little skirmish, quickly made hand seals and said, Doden, earth spikes, slamming his hands on the ground. The ground in front of Izumi rose slightly and threw a few rock spikes at Sasuke with moderate speed. Sasuke quickly dodged all of them and yelled, Kaden, Hosenka no Jutsu, Phoenix Fire Technique, and sent multiple small fireballs towards the enemy. Izumi didn't have the skill to dodge them all and took one to his left leg and another to his shoulder, leaving him in the ground slightly burned and in pain. Winner, Uchiha Sasuke. Medics, Hayate said, and Sasuke smugly smirked and made his way up to the balcony near his team while medics went to heal Izumi. Didn't even need Sharingan, Sasuke thought. Congratulations Sasuke-kun, Sakura said with stars in her eyes as she watched her beloved Sasuke-kun making his way up the stairs. At least the only fangirls that are here are Ino and Sakura, Naruto said and got glares from both Ino and Sakura. You know Naruto-kun, I'm a fangirl, she said and Naruto raised an eyebrow. You are? Kurenai asked. Of course. I'm Naruto's fangirl. Cough cough, Hinata started and cleared her voice. Squeal oh Naruto-kun is so cool will you go out with me? She asked with stars in her eyes and her best puppy dog face. I can't say no to you Haim, Naruto said laughing and kissed her. Kurenai just sweat dropped and Kakashi chuckled at their antics. Ah, I seriously need a boyfriend, Ino said with stars in her eyes watching both of them. Congratulations Sasuke, Kakashi said. Sasuke grunted, making Sakura squeal in delight. They watched the board go through another set of random names. Haruno Sakura and Yamanaka Ino please step into the arena to begin your match, Hayate said. Like canon not even going to bother with this. Due to both contestants being unconscious I declare this match a tie, Hayate said. Fangirls, Yugito started, the disgrace of the kunoichi. If they spent more time training instead of drooling over the Uchiha over there they wouldn't be slapping each other. It's just sad, Yugito said and everyone nodded agreeing with her. At least you learned how to properly slap someone, Naruto said and everyone's sweat dropped. Sabaku no Gaara and Miwa Fuji please step into the arena to begin your match, Hayate said and Gaara used his traditional sand shunshin to the arena while his opponent jumped off. Sabaku no Gaara vs. Miwa Fuji Ready? Hayate asked. Fuji nodded and in Gaara's case sand left his gourd and started dancing around him. Hajime, the proctor said and jumped away. He could sense the rise in Gaara's bloodlust. Sand shuriken, Gaara immediately said and sent 10 shurikens he made with his sand towards the enemy. Fuji didn't expect such a sudden attack and made a very risky evasion maneuver by ducking to the ground. Fuji was rising when he noticed his feet were caught in something. He looked down and saw sand wrapped around his feet and quickly rising. Fuji tried to struggle to get free but it seemed the more he struggled the quicker it wrapped around him. Not even 5 seconds later Fuji was completely covered in sand. Sand coffin, Gaara said as he brought his open hand up. He suddenly closed his hand and said, sand funeral. Gaara closed his hand into a fist and immediately the sand around Fuji compressed, completely crushing him. Fuji exploded in a shower of blood that covered almost all the arena. Winner. Sabaku no Gaara, Hayate said a little disgusted as someone could kill this easily even more in a tournament. Hik killed him, Sakura said as she had awakened up just in time to see the bloody end. Fu murmured to herself. Even though, in her village, only Shibuki liked her, she still wouldn't want to kill anyone or wish for their death. That Tanuki always wanted destruction. He still is insane, Kurama said to Naruto. I guess I need to defeat him if we face off to prove my point, Naruto replied. Uzumaki, you will be mine, Gaara almost yelled pointing to our favorite blonde standing in the balcony. I already told you I don't swing that way, Naruto said and that phrase pissed Gaara off as she shot a wave of sand towards him. Naruto watched the sand come to him and before anyone could react, the sand wrapped around him and immediately crushed him. Naruto, Kakashi yelled and watched his little brother getting crushed to death. Gaara smiled as he finally got this precious blood offering to her mother. He quickly removed his sand to show an untouched Uzumaki Naruto. Did you do something? Naruto asked. The reactions were very different. Kakashi sighed in relief. Temari and Kankuro had their jaws on the floor as they saw the blonde unhurt. Yugito stared at the blonde suspiciously, to her he was truly an enigma. Naruto made a quick seamless shunshin and landed right in front of Gaara. He proceeded to plant a very firm kick in his stomach and sent him flying to the wall. The sand wasn't quick enough to protect and everyone could see small cracks appearing in his skin. He hit Gaara, Kankuro said flabbergasted. He never saw his brother get hit for that fact, and yet this blonde kid just appears in front of him and gives him a kick like it was nothing. So you do have another defensive sand layer, Naruto said as he watched Gaara get up and the cracks disappear. Enough, the voice of the Hokage roared through the room, instantly putting everyone in attention. Naruto, stand down, and you, the Hokage said, pointing to Baki the Sand Team Jonin. Control your students or we will discipline them for you. Apologies Hokage-sama, Baki said, bowing to the Hokage. That Gaara almost ruined everything. A.N. Tenten vs. Tamari Cannon style. Hyuga Neji and Akamichi Choji, please step into the arena to begin your match, Hayate said, and Choji got kinda scared, but nonetheless they both made their way down. Hajime, Hayate said. As soon as the proctor started the match, Neji activated his Byakugan and charged at Choji. Choji panicked and started a sloppy Nikuden Sensha human bullet tank. Choji started spinning and going with good speed against Neji. Neji watched him approach and quickly made a plan. Neji dodged to the side and placed his foot in front of Choji's path. This action made Choji bump into his foot and rise into the air, quickly losing his stance and ending the technique and allowing Neji to give him a few good Juken strikes that left him unconscious on the ground. Winner, Hyuga Neji, Hayate said. It was his fate to lose to me, Neji smugly said. Neji walked up the stairs and was congratulated by Tenten. He didn't know it, but she had a crush on him, but even with his superior eyesight he was too blind to see it. Hyuga Hinata vs. Karui of Kumo, please step into the arena to begin your match, Hayate said. Hinata was leaving when Naruto pulled her back and gave her a small kiss on the cheek. For luck, he said, and she smiled. I know you don't like Kumo, but don't go overboard, Naruto whispered to her heart, and she nodded. Hyuga Hinata vs. Karui of Kumo #. Ready? Hayate asked, and seeing both nods he said, Hajime. My lucky day, I get to face a Hyuga, Karui said, and got a confused look from Hinata. What I mean is that the Hyugas specialize too much on taijutsu. If I keep my distance you can't do anything. I wonder why our former Raikage wanted your bloodline so much, Karui said. Hinata frowned. You know, I was the one that was kidnapped that day, she said, and Karui raised an eyebrow. So that means that you are the heiress. My lucky day, I get to kick your ass and prove that the Hyugas are worthless, Karui said, smirking. Hinata chuckled sadly. I'm no longer the heiress or a Hyuga for that matter, Hinata replied. I don't understand, Karui said. What I meant is that I no longer belong to the Hyuga clan. My father deemed too weak to be the heiress of the clan, so he branded me with the cage bird seal and disavowed me from the clan, Hinata explained, and a few on the stands gasped. Balcony #. That's cruel, to leave your daughter because she's weak, Ino said. She wondered what would happen if that happened to her. Kurenai seethed her teeth. When she found out, she wanted nothing more than to strangle Hiyashi. To do that to his own family, no wonder he sent his own brother to his death. Hyuga Hinata vs. Karui of Kumo #. Karui didn't say anything. She never knew that the Hyugas would be so cold and uncaring. She heard that they were arrogant and stoic, but this was a new low. In the end, I should be grateful to you, Hinata started, and seeing Karui's confused look she continued, if you didn't kidnap me, Naruto-kun wouldn't have saved me, and maybe my father would never have expelled me. The last few years I've spent with Naruto-kun were my happiest time. My father never showed love or compassion of any sort, so I guess in the end everything worked out for the best, Hinata concluded, showing a small yet true smile. Naruto-kun, you mean that blonde kid? Karui asked, pointing to our favorite blonde watching on the balcony. Why are you calling me kid? We are the same age, Naruto stated from the balcony. Yes, he was the one that found me when I was being kidnapped and managed to hold off and eventually defeat my kidnapper, Hinata said, and Karui's eyes widened. But you were 6 years old. How can a 6-year-old child kill a Jonin? Karui asked in shock. Everyone who heard took a while to assimilate and turned to face the blonde. Naruto sighed and answered, that is what happens when people underestimate me. Even though I was 6 years old, I was already Genin level and I am very sneaky. He underestimated me and paid the price. Naruto explained and the audience slowly nodded. Hinata smiled, remembering all the fun they had since she started living with him. Teaching him proper manners at the table, smacking him with a pillow so he could wake up, hiding his ramen, helping him with his pranks, training with him, watching the night skies and sunsets with him, living with him, sleeping next to him and kissing him. You did mention that if you kept your distance from the Hyugas it would be fine, but with me that doesn't apply. I can assure you that I am a master at the Juken, but I didn't stick with only that, as I will show you now, Hinata said and dropped to the basic Juken stance. Ready? Hinata asked and Karui nodded and picked up her sword from her back. Hinata channeled chakra to her wrist seal and in a poof of smoke there was in her hand a 20 inches long single-edged straight sword. The blade's hilt was lavender with white lines around the edges. So you know Kenjutsu, Karui said and dashed towards her. Karui jumped and did a vertical slash only to block Hinata with her own sword. Hinata jumped back and did a few hand seals and shouted, Sweden, Tepudama, water bullet. Hinata sent a few compressed water bullets at high speed towards Karui. Karui skillfully evaded all of them and watched as they collided with the wall and removed a good chunk of it. Karui gulped. If that had hit her it would have broken a few bones. Karui once again rushed forward and said, Cloud style, deception slice, and made a slash motion with her sword. Hinata easily blocked, but Karui turned to smoke, revealing a wooden log. Hinata activated her Byakugan just in time to block a lateral swing from Karui's sword and jumped back, gaining a bit of distance from Karui. Hinata knew that she didn't stand a chance with Kenjutsu. She preferred daggers to swords. Daggers were easier to integrate with her taijutsu style and allowed for more swift motions without leaving so many openings. Hinata channeled wind chakra to her sword and quickly closed the distance. Karui brought her sword to block. Wrong move as Hinata made a few quick slashes and destroyed Karui's sword, leaving it in pieces on the ground and Karui holding the hilt. What did you do? Karui asked, getting pissed off. That was her favorite sword. After a few skirmishes I can tell that you are better at Kenjutsu than me, so I had to take care of that. I channeled wind chakra to my sword and destroyed yours, Hinata explained and once again ran through hand seals and said, Sweden. Sushoha, exploding water wave. Hinata expelled great amounts of water to the arena, completely flooding the grounds. Balcony Not possible. That's an A-rank water jutsu. How can she have enough chakra for that? Kakashi asked out loud and turned to Kurenai. What have you been teaching them? He asked. Kurenai simply smirked. I didn't teach them anything. All credits go to Naruto, Kurenai said, and Kakashi turned to Naruto. I told you I've been training since I was 5 years old. Hinata joined me when she was 7. The dead last and the shy girl was all a cover. Deception is a ninja's greatest tool, Naruto said, and everyone turned their attention to the arena. Hyuga Hinata vs. Karui of Kumo Raiden, Kangekiha lightning style. Emotion wave, Karui said and channeled Raiden chakra through her hands and released it through the water to shock Hinata. Hinata saw this and jumped up to break her connection with the water. She went through hand seals and said, Fuden, Daitapa, great breakthrough, and sent a gust of wave that disrupted the lightning attack and made Karui lose her balance. Hinata took this opportunity and quickly went through new hand seals and shouted her favorite water technique, Suryuden no Jutsu Water Dragon. A water dragon rose from the water in the ground and quickly crashed into Karui, who didn't have time to dodge. Karui was sent crashing into the wall and hit with the pressure of the water dragon. Karui was a little dazed from the impact and slowly got up, but Hinata quickly appeared next to her and said, Suoro no Jutsu Water Prison. A chunk of water rose and quickly formed a sphere that trapped Karui inside and rendered her unable to move. Hayate was shocked. The amount of skill the girl displayed with water jutsu was Jonin level. He managed to break free from his stutter and said, "Winner, Hyuga Hinata. Balcony #. She won, Naruto chanted as he watched everyone on the balcony except his team stare in shock as Hinata made her way up the stairs. Even the Hokage was shocked at the skill she showed. Kakashi broke free from his own shock. He blinked, and blinked again. Kakashi approached Neji. "See, can you check her chakra levels?" he asked, stuttering. Neji activated his Byakugan and froze to what he saw. That's impossible. She has elite Jonin chakra levels. How is that even possible? She is a genin and nothing but a failure, Neji said. If she is a failure, I wonder what a genius could do, Kakashi mused. Naruto quickly hugged Hinata and spinned her around. "Congratulations, Hime," Naruto said, making her giggle. "You are nothing but a failure. To rely on ninjutsu only proves you weren't meant for the Byakugan," Neji coldly stated. "Then if we face each other in the finals, I'll show you my Juken," Hinata said. Omoi from Kumo vs. Fu from Taki, please step into the arena to begin your match, Hayate called out. Omoi from Kumo vs. Fu from Taki #. Ready? Hayate asked and both nodded. Hajime, Hayate called out and immediately jumped back. Fu quickly went through a few hand seals and said, Mizu no Muchi Water Whip. Fu took advantage of the existing water and quickly made 4 water whips that grabbed Omoi's arms and legs and pinned him in the spot. Fu approached him from behind and placed a kunai at his neck. "Yield," Fu said. Omoi tried to struggle to find a way to free himself from this bind, but they wouldn't budge. "I surrender," Omoi said. "Winner, Fu of Taki," Hayate said. Balcony #. "That was anticlimactic," Asuma said as he watched Omoi return to the balcony with his head low. To be caught off guard and defeated with a single jutsu, it was a shame. "Man, those things are really tight, they wouldn't budge," Omoi said while his lollipop and shaking his head in disappointment. "What affinity do you have?" Naruto asked. "Like most people in Kumo, I have lightning." "Why?" Omoi asked. "You could have channeled lightning chakra through the whips, and since they are water, they would most likely have weakened enough for you to perform a substitution," Naruto explained, and Omoi face-palmed. "How come I didn't think of that?" Omoi asked, and Naruto shrugged his shoulders. Ni Yugito vs. Aburame Shino, please come to the arena to begin the match, Hayate called out. "Good luck, Shino," Naruto said, and Hinata nodded. "Thank you, but it is unlikely I will win," Shino stoically said, heading down to the arena. "Well, he's excited," Asuma said. Aburame Shino vs. Ni Yugito #. "Ready?" Hayate asked and both nodded. "Hajime," Hayate said and jumped back. Immediately as Hayate said, Yugito jumped into action and quickly closed the distance between her and Shino. Yugito jumped in the air and performed a drop kick. Shino brought both his arms up in AX formation and blocked the kick. Shino quickly grabbed her leg and spun her against the wall. Yugito twisted mid-air and landed gracefully in the wall like a cat would. Balcony #. "Looks like Shino's taijutsu skill has increased," Kakashi said, surprised. "Since Naruto and Hinata were more advanced, it gave me more time to focus on Shino." Also his main weakness, as most long-range users, is taijutsu, so we tried to get him a defensive-type taijutsu style, Kurenai explained and Kakashi nodded. Go Shino, kick her, Naruto yelled. Kurenai just shook her head. Naruto could defeat her in a spar and yet he still had a childish behavior. Aburame Shino vs. Ni Yugito ##. Yugito dropped from the wall and into the ground and crouched in all four like a cat getting ready to pounce on the victim. Shino eyed her very carefully and started releasing his bugs. Yugito saw the bugs heading towards her and shouted, Kaden, Hosenka no Jutsu, Phoenix Fire Technique. Multiple fireballs crashed into Shino's bugs and engulfed them in flames. Yugito smirked but quickly dropped her smile when she noticed that the bugs were still coming as if nothing happened to them. How did you do that? Yugito asked. My main weakness is fire since it can easily destroy my bugs, so I coated them with water chakra to protect them, Shino stoically explained. I guess I have to turn up the heat, Yugito said smirking. Let's go Nibi, Yugito said to her partner. Right kitten, Nibi replied. Katen, Aogukaku no Jutsu, blue fireball technique, Yugito yelled and unleashed a big blue fireball towards Shino. This fireball engulfed the bugs and immediately turned them to dust. The fireball continued its path towards Shino. Doten, Doryuaheki, earth wall, Shino said, and a small earth wall rose in front of him to protect him. The fireball collided with the earth wall and slowly but surely began to apply pressure. The wall didn't stand a chance with a Biju-powered fireball and began to crack until he collapsed. Shino saw the wall starting to crack and immediately jumped away. Yugito expected such, so she was there to greet with a fierce punch to his face. Yugito punched him but he transformed into bugs. Bug clone, Yugito thought as the clone she punched began to surround her. Yugito channeled Nibi's chakra and one by one each of the bugs began to fall on the ground, killed by the Biju's extremely poisonous chakra. I surrender, she destroyed one of my hives and I'm low on chakra. It would be illogical to proceed, Shino breathing heavily. Winner by forfeit ni Yugito, Hayate said. Balcony ##. You did good Shino, Kurenai said and he nodded. Yeah, it would be very hard to win against someone like her, Naruto said. What's so special about her? Sasuke asked but it felt more like a demand. Let's just say she's the number 2, Naruto said smirking and Sasuke was about to jump him when Kakashi caught his shoulder. The Hokage heard that and already suspected as much. That means that with her there are 5 Jinchurikis here, the Hokage thought. Nara Shikamaru vs. Inuzuka Kiba, please come to the arena, Hayate called. Yeah, I'm lazy. We have this one on the bag, Kiba cheered and he picked up Akamaru and ran to the arena. Nara Shikamaru vs. Inuzuka Kiba ##. Ready? Hayate asked. That's right we are, Kiba yelled. Troublesome, I guess I am, Shikamaru replied. Hajime, Hayate said and jumped back. This is so troublesome. I'm no match for Kiba's speed or strength, Shikamaru thought as he analyzed Kiba and came up with a plan to defeat him. Kiba immediately said, Ninpu, Shikyaku no Jutsu, 4 legs technique. We could see Kiba crouched to the ground on all fours. His nails became more elongated as his fangs and his eyes took a more feral grin with vertical slits. Kiba ran forward with impressive speed and Shikamaru, the lazy he is, decided to run and avoid every single strike Kiba tried. This continued for a few minutes until Kiba got tired and jumped back gaining some distance. Fight back lazy, Kiba yelled and got pissed off that he didn't hit him one single time. I'm fighting back. Troublesome, Shikamaru said and sighed. Shikamaru went through his pockets and took a smoke bomb. He threw it at Kiba and the entire arena where Kiba was became covered in smoke. Inside the smoke cloud Kiba was quickly turning and checking every position to find out what exactly Shikamaru was trying to do. He checks left, right, up and his left. Kiba was getting tired of this and was about to jump away when he froze, unable to move. As the smoke cleared, Kiba could see Shikamaru crouching with his hands in the rat seal. "What did you do?" Kiba asked as he struggled to move. Kiba could see from the corner of his eye that Akamaru was also frozen in the same place. "Kujime no Jutsu, shadow imitation technique, success," Shikamaru said. "In the beginning of the match when you engaged me in taijutsu, I placed a few small bells in you. When I threw the smoke bomb, I blocked your vision of me so you couldn't see what I was doing. Since you had the bells, I could easily find you in the middle of the smoke and connect my shadow to yours, preventing you from moving," Shikamaru explained. "Forfeit," Shikamaru said. "Fine, I surrender," Kiba said angrily. How it turned out. "Winner by forfeit. Nara Shikamaru," Hayate said. Balcony #. "Who thought the lazy could come up with that?" Sakura smugly said. Asuma laughed. "You know, I gave him an IQ test and he scored 220. The kid's genius and never got good scores in the academy because he was always too bored to do more," Asuma said, chuckling to the shock of many. "Just slightly above you," Hinata whispered to Naruto. Asuma overheard what Hinata said. "What do you mean slightly above him?" Asuma asked. "Exactly that. Naruto did an IQ test like everyone. However, in the academy he scored less than 50, which would mean severe lack of cognitive functions. However, we tested each other at home and he scored 210 inches," Hinata explained, and everyone's jaw hit the floor. "How can the dead last have such a high IQ?" Asuma asked. "The same way Shikamaru, who was almost dead last, has as well," Naruto said, chuckling. "But I'm not the only one. My Haim here also scored 200 points, Naruto said and laughed at their faces. The dead last and the shy girl were geniuses. This never gets old, Naruto thought. "How many more did you hide?" Asuma asked him, and he shrugged his shoulders. "Uzumaki Naruto vs. Rock Lee, please step into the arena for the match," Hayate called out. "Looks like we are up, Lee. I want to test my Dragon Fist against your Goken Strong Fist, so how about I only use taijutsu, no bloodline even?" Naruto asked. "That's the most youthful thing someone has ever said to me." "I agree. Let's show them the power of youth," Lee yelled, making everyone wince at the tone. "Such a youthful opponent, you should make him your eternal rival," Guy yelled. "Yes, Guy Sensei," Lee said. "Lee. Guy Sensei. Lee. Guy Sensei." Both master and student were hugging each other on the beach as the water came rushing between them and crashing into the rocks. Tears could be seen shining as the sun was going down. Kai! Kai! Naruto yelled. "Kurama, help PPP, he pleaded to his partner. "It doesn't work. What sort of genjutsu is this?" Kurama said as he ran to the back of his seal and closed his eyes with his tails. "Wait!" Sakura yelled, making Naruto turn back as he was already going down to the arena. "You have a bloodline?" Sakura asked. "Yes, I do," Naruto said and discarded any more questions as he turned to leave again. "How can a clanless and orphan loser like you have a bloodline?" Sasuke smugly asked. Naruto clenched his fist, shaking in anger. He almost channeled the Kyuubi's chakra, but Kurama managed to hold it. Naruto managed to calm down. "You know, Sasuke. One day you will eat all those words. You are not as special as you think. Besides, people say that my bloodline is the strongest in the world," Naruto said. "Please be done. The Sharingan is the most powerful bloodline in the world," Sasuke said, smirking. "If you say so," Naruto said, laughing as he made his way down the stairs. People who knew he had the Sharingan chuckled at his wordplay. Uzumaki Naruto vs. Rock Lee #. "Ready?" Hayate asked and both nodded. Final match of the preliminaries: Uzumaki Naruto vs. Rock Lee. "Hajime," Hayate said and jumped back. "We are both geniuses of hard word, Lee. Let's show them the power of taijutsu, Naruto said and got into his stance. Left leg in front of the right with both knees bent, left arm stretched with the hand palm facing the enemy while the right arm was coiled near the waist with a fist. Lee had a more simple stance. He was standing straight with his left arm behind his back and his right arm pointing to the enemy with a straight palm. Balcony #. Strange, Guy mused, never seen that particular stance before, Guy thought out loud nursing his chin while he thought. That stance belongs to the taijutsu style of his father with a few modifications that Naruto integrated in there, Hinata said. I thought Naruto was an orphan, Sakura asked. He is, but his father left him scrolls with his jutsus, Hinata explained. Who was his father? Sakura asked. It isn't my place to tell, Hinata replied and Sakura frowned. Must be some unknown chunin who got drunk and died in some mission, Sasuke said and Kakashi was about to snap his neck for disrespecting his sensei. Uzumaki Naruto vs. Rock Lee ##. As Hayate said start, Rock Lee immediately started running to Naruto. He closed the distance in no time. Lee jumped and said, Konoha Senpu Leaf Whirlwind, and tried to kick him. Naruto brought his right arm and blocked the kick. Lee jumped back and Naruto immediately regretted blocking that as his arm felt a little numb. As Lee touched the ground he went again at high speeds towards Naruto and both engaged in a fierce display of taijutsu. Due to the fact that Naruto could use chakra to empower his muscles, he had a slight advantage in speed in short bursts that were perfect for his quick counters. The battle went on until Lee quickly got past his defenses. Lee crouched beneath Naruto and said, Konoha Shufu Leaf Rising Wind. Lee tried an uppercut with his feet at Naruto but he managed to roll and dodge it. As Naruto was rolling he tried to sweep Lee's legs only to make him jump back and evade it as well. As soon as Lee touched the ground he disappeared in a burst of speed. Naruto looked around until he felt Lee above. He looked up just in time to block a powerful drop kick with both arms. Naruto quickly grabbed his leg and threw Lee at the ground. Lee spinned and landed without trouble on the ground. Your taijutsu is very good Naruto-kun, as expected from my eternal rival, Lee said with tears in his eyes. Naruto shuddered and replied, sure Lee, eternal rivals. Naruto knew he might have signed his death sentence right there but this match was extremely good. Hinata was a very good sparring partner at taijutsu but she always used her gentle fist style. Naruto never faced a user of Goken. Even though Naruto had the advantage in speed he sometimes managed to get in a punch or kick but Lee seemed to brush them off as nothing more than a little scratch. But this difference in speed was almost removed by Lee's experience in taijutsu putting them equals in skill. This time Naruto took charge and ran towards Lee. Naruto threw a sloppy punch that Lee easily sidestepped but that was what Naruto wanted. As soon as Lee sidestepped his punch Naruto threw his hands to the ground to support himself and used his legs to snare Lee's head between his feet. Naruto with a swift motion of his ankles threw Lee at a wall who didn't see that coming and was unable to block. Balcony ##. Impressive, Guy was shocked with that particular movement that managed to firmly give Lee some damage. Naruto's taijutsu style incorporates a lot of acrobatic movements. He could have snapped Lee's neck with that one, Hinata explained and Guy's eyes widened. Thank God his student was alive. Uzumaki Naruto vs. Rock Lee ##. I didn't expect such a technique from you Naruto-kun, Lee said as he got up and brushed off the dust. Lee, take them off, Guy yelled from the balcony. Lee heard what his sensei said and was surprised. But I thought you could only remove them if it was to protect someone important to you, Lee said. It is but this time I'm giving permission to remove them, Guy said. Lee heard this and smiled. He sat down in the ground and removed the weights he was wearing beneath his orange leg warmers. So he uses weights. I knew this wasn't his full power, Naruto thought and considered removing his seals, but he would wait and see if it was necessary. Balcony. Just removing a bit of weight won't do anything, Sakura said. She watched Lee remove his weights and drop them in the ground and cause a crash that shook the entire arena. Sakura's eyes widened at the weight he had. Wasn't that a little bit too much, Guy? Kakashi asked, and Guy scoffed. How can he even stand with so much weight? Yugito yelled. What was with these leaf ninjas, were they all crazy? Uzumaki Naruto vs. Rock Lee. Yosh, now I can move freely, Lee said, and Naruto lost track of Lee. Naruto didn't even manage to blink as Lee appeared right in front of him and delivered a powerful punch straight to his face that sent Naruto tumbling to the ground. Naruto slowly got up as Lee appeared next to him and kicked him in the stomach and sent him crashing to the wall. Naruto slowly got up as Lee appeared next to him. Lee crouched and kicked him into the air. Before Naruto could process the situation, he was already in the air. He blinked just in time to see Lee give a drop kick and send him to the ground, crashing into the cement floor hard. The floor cracked from the pressure and released a cloud of dust. Balcony. That is some speed, Kakashi said. Unbelievable, I didn't even see anything, Sakura said. Why can't my Sharingan track that speed? He's nothing more than a blur, Sasuke thought as he seethed his teeth. Looks like Naruto is done, Asuma said as he smoked his cigar. I wouldn't be so sure, Kurenai replied with a knowing grin, and got confused faces from Kakashi and Asuma. Uzumaki Naruto vs. Rock Lee. Naruto slowly got up and removed a few rocks that were nearby from the crater he caused. He dusted himself off and saw his ruined jacket. You know, I liked this jacket, Naruto said, and everyone's sweat dropped as he remained so calm when he just plummeted to the earth. Naruto raised his right hand and made a half-tiger seal and said, Gravity Seals Kai. His whole body slowly glowed and dimmed down. You aren't the only one who trains with weights, Lee, although I prefer resistance seals, Naruto said as he flexed his muscles to get used to his new speed. Naruto ran with blinding speeds towards Lee. Lee didn't have time to do anything as Naruto took a page from Lee's book and punched him straight in the face and sent him to the ground. Balcony. Fast, Kakashi said. Looks like you were right, Kurenai. He also had weights on, Kakashi said, and Kurenai nodded. But I didn't see him removing Kakashi-sensei, Ino asked. Naruto wasn't a physical weight. He was using what it's called gravity seals. These seals were invented by the Yondaime Hokage, and basically they restrain the body's movement, making you put more strength to move, Kakashi explained, and Ino nodded. I want those seals, Sasuke demanded. Sorry, but I can't give you. They can only be applied by someone very well versed in seals, and they are very dangerous to anyone who doesn't know seals. If you don't know how to properly use them, you may not be able to deactivate them during a battle, giving the opponent a big advantage, Kakashi explained with a serious tone. Then how can that one use them? Sasuke asked as he saw Naruto get leaps ahead of him. That power should be his. Apparently he's very good with seals and a seal master, Kakashi said, much to the surprise of everyone. But I thought you needed to be very smart to learn that, Sakura asked. Then I guess that Hinata was telling the truth about his IQ, Kakashi said, chuckling. Uzumaki Naruto vs. Rock Lee. They both engaged in a vicious taijutsu battle. To anyone below Jonin, they were nothing but blurs at such speeds. The power and speed that was behind those attacks was enough to completely shatter any one bone it hit the opponent. Every single punch or kick they gave, the opponent blocked it and sent a shock wave towards the whole arena. Lee disappeared in a burst of speed and quickly appeared behind Naruto and threw a punch. Naruto caught the punch with both hands and brought Lee in front of him and placed a kick in his stomach. Lee simply shrugged it off. As I expected. I'm faster but you have more strength, Naruto said. So it is, Lee said as he regained his balance and untangled his ligatures in both arms. Lee disappeared and quickly appeared next to Naruto and kneed him in the stomach. Naruto doubled over and Lee kicked him into the air. Naruto was in mid-air when Lee appeared next to him and tapped his back. Lee's ligatures quickly left his arms and wrapped around Naruto. Lee picked Naruto and both started spinning very fast and going in fast to the ground. Omit Renge, front lotus. This is going to hurt, Naruto thought as he was spinning and heading head first to the ground at high speeds. Boom! A massive shock wave was heard through the whole room as Lee sent Naruto to the ground, making a big crater. Much bigger than the one that was previously there. Lee was on the side as he watched the dust cloud settle and saw Naruto lying on the ground. Oh, Naruto barely said as he got up from the crater and got shocked faces from everyone. That hurt like hell. I'm already regretting not using my bloodline, he said as he got up and flexed his neck and dusted off his clothes. How can you stand up after that? Lee asked as he was starting to get tired. That move was forbidden by his sensei due to the toll it takes on his muscles. I channeled chakra to my body to strengthen him and lessen the impact, but even so it hurt like hell, Naruto said as he got ready to continue the onslaught. It's about time to show you the true power of my taijutsu style, Naruto said. Lee didn't want to give him time to recover and quickly ran towards him and said, Konoha Senpu, Leaf Whirlwind. Naruto already knew this move and took the opportunity. He saw the kick approaching and elbowed Lee's leg. Lee toppled over in pain and nursed his leg. I'm sorry Lee, but my true taijutsu style is meant to target weakened pressure points along the human body. I didn't put enough pressure to break the bones. Please surrender, I do not want to hurt you, Naruto said. I cannot give up. Gai-sensei, forgive me, but I must do this, Lee said and rose up. He brought his arms in front of his chest in an X form. Naruto watched as his veins started to show beneath his skins and his skin started to become redder. Naruto's eyes widened when he realized what Lee was about to do. Lee, you can't open them, this is getting out of hand, Naruto said. I cannot give up, for this is my Nindo way, Lee said. Kaiman, gate of opening, Kai, Lee said as his veins started getting more defined under his skin. Kaiyuman, gate of healing, Kai, Lee said and he started turning red. Simon, gate of life, Kai, Lee said and a green aura could be seen forming around his body. Shuman, gate of pain, Kai, Lee said. Toman, gate of closing, Kai, Lee said and the air around him began to swirl around him due to massive amounts of chakra he was realizing. Balcony #. You taught him how to open the gates, Kakashi said. Are you insane? He asked. I don't want to hear this from you. He can't use ninjutsu or genjutsu. Taijutsu is the only thing he has, Guy replied. I can see the chakra around his body. This is amazing, Sakura said as she watched in wonder the power that was radiating from Lee. I want you to teach me this, Kakashi-sensei, Sasuke said. Never. The gates are extremely dangerous. There are 8 gates in the human body. If you open them all you temporarily gain a boost of strength that can surpass a cage, but then you die, Kakashi explained. Lee is using them. Then that means is going to die, Sasuke asked. You die if you open the 8th and last gate. However, if your body isn't strong enough to handle the strain of lower gates you can easily die as well. This is why it is a very dangerous technique, Kakashi explained and Sasuke huffed. Uzumaki Naruto vs. Rock Lee #. You truly are amazing, Lee. But I can't lose here as well, and I promised only taijutsu, which only leaves me this as my last trump card. Kaimon, Kaiyuman, Seimon, Shoman, Toman Kai, Naruto said and exploded with chakra. Balcony #. Whaatt, Kakashi yelled as he watched Naruto so easily open 5 gates. How can he open the gates as well? He is crazy, Kakashi said. Kurenai, Kakashi started. Did you teach him this? Kakashi asked in a dangerous voice. No, I didn't even know he could do this, Kurenai said just as surprised. Relax, Hinata started and got the attention of everyone. He knows what he's doing. Anyone can open the gates as long they know where they are situated in the human body. I can open them as well. I can go up to 4, Hinata said and everyone stared at her in shock. Kakashi gulped and revealed his Sharingan to see the battle that was about to be unsure. How many gates can he open? Kakashi asked. Hinata smirked and shouted, Naruto go full power. Uzumaki Naruto vs. Rock Lee #. Naruto laughed at the enthusiasm Hinata was showing and decided to show them. Kurama, get ready. I'm going full strength, Naruto said smirking. Honestly you have no restraint, Kurama replied. Kaiman, joy of gate Kuman, gate of shock Kai, Naruto said and he was surrounded by a blue aura. Balcony #. 7 gates, Kakashi said, barely standing. Sakura, Ino and most of the weaker genins were on the ground. The amount of power Naruto was unleashing was pushing the air from everyone. Uzumaki Naruto vs. Rock Lee #. Shimon, gate of death Kai, Naruto said and everyone's eyes widened. Naruto's muscles bulged out completely, ripping off his mesh armor and shirt he had leaving his torso. Naruto started walking towards Lee, every step he took the ground beneath him cracked. His eyes were completely blue and his skin was red. He was sweating heavily and that gave him a blue aura around. His hair was flowing in the air and lightly glowing. Balcony #. He opened the last gate, Kakashi said as he fell to his knees. Don't worry, Hinata said calmly and everyone stared at her. There are 5 people in the whole world who can open all gates and live and Naruto is one of them, Hinata concluded. Why you mean he can open the last gate and live? Guy asked and she nodded. Guy gulped and turned his attention to the arena. This was a moment of a lifetime. To be able to witness all 8 gates opened. Uzumaki Naruto vs. Rock Lee #. Ready Lee? Naruto asked. His voice took a deeper tone due to all the open gates. Lee gulped and slowly nodded, not really wanting to see just what was going to happen to him. Naruto disappeared in a burst of speed that not even the Hokage could follow. Not even Kakashi's Sharingan managed to follow him. Lee looked around when suddenly felt crippling pain in his stomach. He looked down and saw Naruto with his fist embedded in his chest. Lee was sent flying. Before he could hit anything, Naruto appeared beneath him and kneed him in the back and sent him into the air. Naruto disappeared once again and appeared above Lee in the air. Naruto punched Lee with such strength that sent a shockwave throughout the whole arena. Anyone watching had to secure themselves with chakra to stand. Lee was about to go crashing into the ground when Naruto pulled him back by his arm's ligatures and gave him a drop kick to the chest and sent crashing into the ground. When Lee smashed, the whole building shattered and the arena was blown to bits. The Hokage and Jonkins that were watching had to leave otherwise they would receive the full power of the blast wave. Naruto dropped to the ground and kneeled. Even though he could survive opening all the gates it took a very large toll on his body. Hayate approached Lee to see if he was even in one piece. He approached him and touched his neck and felt a weak pulse from him. Winner by knockout. Uzumaki Naruto, Hayate said, stuttering. He snapped from his shock and yelled, medics. Balcony #. No one said anything to the amount of power they just displayed. They wondered how even Lee managed to survive such brutal strikes. They saw Naruto slowly walking up to them. They noticed he was breathing heavily. So that's the power of the 8th gate, Guy said as he ran towards his fallen student. Are you okay Naruto? Kakashi asked. Naruto sunk to the ground and leaned against the wall. Yeah, I just need a little bit of sleep and I'll be back up in no time, he replied. You aren't human, Yugito said as she approached Naruto. Funny because if it weren't for the furball I would have died, Naruto said, chuckling to the shock of many and confusion of the others. You probably wouldn't survive. Anyone below the 5th wouldn't survive opening the last gate. I don't like opening gates because I have better options, but I promise Lee a taijutsu only battle. I won't be able to move properly today, Naruto said. Do you know any of them? Sasuke smugly asked, trying to get as much information as he could. Well, of the 5 people that can survive there are 3 in here. There's me, Killer B, Naruto said pointing towards the Kumo's team Jonin. And there is Fu, Naruto concluded pointing to Fu, the member of the Taki team. Why are they so special? Sasuke asked and everyone was tense. Not my place to tell Sasuke, Naruto replied and got to his feet. Sasuke scowled. The blonde. Contestants gather up, Hayate said, and everyone who passed was now standing in front of Hayate. Is Lee alright? Naruto asked. Well, according to the medics, his muscles are shredded, he has a few broken bones, a dislocated shoulder and a concussion, Hayate replied, and everyone stared at Naruto, who was starting to feel bad for what he did. Don't worry. He will need to be in bed for 3 weeks before he can walk again, but he will be just fine, Hayate said, and Naruto sighed in relief. The finals for this year's Chunin's exam will be held in the main arena in 1 month's time. Here it is, the tournament grid. Take a good look, Hayate said and showed them the paper. Hyuga Hinata vs. Hyuga Neji. Fu vs. Ni Yugito. Sabaku no Tamari vs. Nara Shikamaru. Uzumaki Naruto vs. Uchiha Sasuke. Sabaku no Gaara vs. Sabaku no Kankuro. Looks like I will be able to show you the true power of the Sharingan, Sasuke smirked towards Naruto. Naruto laughed and Sasuke got pissed. What's so funny? Sasuke asked. I'll give it to you. The Sharingan is an amazing tool, but that alone isn't enough, Naruto explained. You will never know the true power of the Sharingan, and I will show it to you in the finals, Sasuke said, smirking. I guess we will test whose bloodline is more developed, Naruto said, smirking. Everyone who was in the room just watched and began considering that Sasuke had a death wish. Bloodline or not, the amount of power Naruto unleashed here was enough to even give Kakashi or Guy a run for their money. I guess we also face each other's cousins. I will show you what a failure you are, Neji said to Hinata with his traditional arrogant grin. Maybe, but I will not give up, Hinata said, smiling. Okay contestants, you may leave the room. See you all in 1 month. Naruto stayed behind. I want to talk to you, the Hokage said, and he nodded. With the Hokage. Congratulations Naruto-kun, although you pulled a dangerous move, the Hokage said in a serious tone. I know. I would never use the gates since I have better options, but I wanted to give Lee a taijutsu battle, Naruto explained, and the Hokage nodded. What do you plan to do during this free month? The Hokage asked. Train, of course. Why do you ask? Naruto asked. Well, since both you and Hinata passed and Kurenai can only train one person effectively, I thought I would mention that your godfather arrived yesterday to the village, the Hokage said, and watched Naruto's reaction. My godfather? Who is he? Naruto asked, wondering who his father had chosen. My student Jiraiya and one of teammates of your grandmother, the Hokage replied, and watched Naruto's jaw hit the floor. You mean the Jiraiya of the Sannin? Naruto asked to get ready to chase the man for training. The one and only, the Hokage replied, laughing. He should be in the hot springs. Naruto didn't think much of it and quickly left for the hot springs to meet his godfather. His godfather was the Jiraiya of the legendary 3. He should really be able to teach him all sorts of powerful techniques and be a very strong and serious person. Right. Naruto left the main arena and found his team waiting for him. Everything all right? Hinata asked. Yeah, the old man just told me my godfather was in town. I didn't even know I had one, Naruto replied chuckling. Godfather. Who is he? Kurenai asked. Jiraiya of the Sannin, Naruto said and laughed at their faces. I know, I had the same reaction when Gigi told me. How are we doing this, sensei? Naruto asked. Well, I can't train you at the same time, otherwise it would be unfair, as you will probably face each other in the finals, Kurenai said. You can give your full time to Hinata-chan. I'll pester my godfather for some training, Naruto said. Okay, Kurenai replied. See you later at home, Naruto said. He kissed her cheek and left. Konoha's hot springs. Naruto walked through Konoha heading towards an objective. Meet his godfather at the hot springs. Konoha's hot springs were relatively small when compared to other exotic destinations, but it was enough for a village like Konoha. Naruto calmly walked through the village. He was still tired from opening all the gates and got berated by Kurama, who had to heal him. No pain, no gain, right? Naruto quickly arrived at his destination and found it surprisingly calm on the outside. Normally on a warm day like this one should find the hot springs with more guests. In the end it was better this way. Naruto entered the hot springs and made his way towards the reception desk. Sitting in the chair behind the desk was a woman around 40 years old. She had neck-length black hair and brown eyes. Good afternoon, I would like to know if there's someone called Jiraiya using the hot springs, Naruto asked. Not that I'm aware of, dear, she replied, and Naruto raised an eyebrow at her kind tone. There is a couple of kunoichis, but the male section is completely empty, she explained. Naruto sighed and walked out. When he came outside he noticed that Ebisu was there. Heaping on women again, closet pervert, Naruto asked Ebisu to jump. Such a rude comment. I'm a gentleman, Ebisu explained. Sure. That's why you are blushing and have a small trickle of blood on your nose, Naruto said, pointing at him. Nonsense. Ebisu said, waving him off. Shouldn't you be training? I heard you will be facing Uchiha Sasuke. He's a prodigy, you know, Ebisu said. Yes, Sasuke is great, I know. Once I drive him to the ground in front of everyone, no one will say that again, Naruto smirking. You really think you can defeat an Uchiha? Nonetheless the rookie of the year, Ebisu asked. Even a genin can kill a cage, Naruto replied, much to the surprise of Ebisu. Besides, instead of peeking, shouldn't you be training Konohamaru? Naruto asked. Ebisu thought for a moment and came with the perfect excuse for being there. I was testing the hot water to see if it was good so that Konohamaru could train chakra control, Ebisu stated, smugly rubbing the bridge of his nose. Does he think he fools anyone? Naruto thought. Naruto was about to reply when they heard giggling coming from the hot springs roof. Both scanned the area and found a man with a small telescope peeping on the women that were taking a bath. I will not tolerate such behavior in my presence, Ebisu yelled and dashed to the man. Tisk, ruining my research, the man thought as he erupted in a puff of smoke and revealed a toad. The toad quickly sent his tongue and wrapped it around Ebisu, slamming him in the ground and knowing him out cold. Toads, Naruto thought as he watched the man. He was a tall man with waist-length, spiky white hair tied back into a ponytail, with two shoulder-length bangs that framed both sides of his face. He also had red lines that ran down from his eyes and wore a horned forehead protector with the kanji for oil. He also had a noticeable wart on the left side of his nose. He wore a green short shirt, kimono and matching pants, under which he wore mesh armor that showed out of the sleeves and legs of his outfit. His outfit was completed with hand guards, a simple black belt, traditional Japanese wooden sandals, a red haori with two simple yellow circles on each side, and a scroll on his back. He also had a tattoo in his left palm which resembles one that Gamma has in his as well. Are you Jiraiya? Naruto asked as he faced the man. Jiraiya looked at the young blonde asking who he was. He suddenly started dancing and saying, I may look like another Sannin, but there is no place you can hide from me. From the north, east, west and south, the women kneel before me. I'm the gallant Jiraiya, Jiraiya said as he stopped dancing to see Naruto staring at him. Why is everyone in the village an idiot? The old man is a pervert, Kakashi is always late, my grandmother is a gambler and now my godfather is an idiot and a pervert. Naruto thought and sighed and wondered why his father picked him of all people. Now that I think about it, I wonder who my godmother is, Naruto mused in thought. Are you really my godfather? Naruto asked, not really wanting to know the truth. Godfather. Enna Naruto, Jiraiya asked the blonde kid. Now that he looked at him he really looked like Minato. He had grown well since the last time he saw him, which was around 4 years old. Hi, Naruto replied. You've grown, Jiraiya said as he approached him and kneeled to his level. Man, you must be a lady killer. I think I just found my next source of inspiration. Jiraiya started laughing and patting his back. I wonder why my father chose you, Naruto replied as his eyes twitched. Why, you know who your father is? Jiraiya asked with his eyes widened. Yeah, I've known since I was 5. Since you don't know, I guess you haven't been in the village since then, Naruto said and the toad sage nodded. If you are here now, how about you help me train for the Chunin exams? Naruto asked and Jiraiya thought for a moment before he started to giggle. I will train you under one condition, Jiraiya said. Naruto knew he would most likely regret this but asked, what condition? I want you to get me some mature fruit, Jiraiya said, giggling perversely while making gestures with his arms to form the figure of an elegant woman. Naruto's face palmed before a grin came to his lips. I have something better for you, Naruto said, smirking, to which Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. He activated his Sharingan, displaying his full power to Jiraiya. Before Jiraiya could even say anything, Naruto locked eyes with him and said, Megan, harem viewing technique, and Jiraiya was dragged into some hot springs that kinda looked like Konoha's but they weren't. Jiraiya-kun, a blonde girl said as she was approaching Jiraiya, who was already submerged in the water. The girl had light blonde hair and brown eyes with a purple diamond-shaped mark on her forehead. She has a slender frame, but what really stood out were her DD cup. Tsunade Haim, I knew you loved me. Come here, Jiraiya said as he nearly passed out from blood loss. Did he say Tsunade? Oh hell no, Naruto thought before he abruptly ended the technique. Jiraiya pouted. You stay away from Ba-chan, you pervert, Naruto yelled, pointing at him. Ba-chan. And Sharingan. You have a lot to explain, Jiraiya said in a serious tone. Fine, but you can't tell anyone yet. What do you want to know first? Naruto asked. How do you have the Sharingan? Jiraiya asked. My father never told you, but my grandfather was Uchiha. Madara, Naruto said and smirked at his face. Jiraiya was mopping the floor with his jaw. Madara. It can't be, Jiraiya said, stuttering and allowing his brain to process the information. From what my father told me, Madara Jiji didn't die in his fight with Hashirama Jiji. Years later my father was born, and when my Madara Jiji's wife died he left my father in the village, Naruto explained, and Jiraiya nodded dumbly. What do you mean from what your father told you? Jiraiya asked curiously. I don't really know how he did it, but when I awakened my Sharingan at 5 years old he appeared in my mindscape and explained everything, Naruto explained. It certainly is possible that Brat was always a genius, Jiraiya thought as he processed the information. I wonder how you never found out, Naruto said and snapped Jiraiya from his thoughts, getting a confused face from him. What I mean is that, for example, the Rasengan he created was derived from the tailed beast ball. He saw it with his Sharingan. He couldn't copy it, but he could see how it worked, and after a bit of effort he created this, Naruto said and extended his hand showing his perfect Rasengan. You can do the Rasengan. Who taught it to you? Jiraiya asked. It wasn't every day you saw a 14-year-old pull an A-rank jutsu. No one. I read my father's scroll and trained. But I prefer the Reikiri or the Chidori for battles. I only use the Rasengan when I need to destroy something, Naruto said grinning. Are Reikiri? Jiraiya asked, and his face paled when he saw Naruto's hand sparkle in electricity. What kind of monster are you? Jiraiya asked. A fox, Naruto replied, laughing his off when Jiraiya's jaw dropped. I think you can't be surprised anymore. Now tell me what that was about Tsunade being your grandmother, Jiraiya said. Exactly that, she was my mother's mother. My mother was Uzumaki Kushina, right? Naruto asked, and Jiraiya nodded. My mother's real name was Senju Kushina and she was the daughter of Senju Tsunade, Naruto explained. I knew Tsunade had a daughter but I heard she died. I never realized she was Kushina. Jiraiya thought out loud. That makes you a member of the Senju clan and also the Uchiha clan, Jiraiya said. Pretty much, Naruto said. Do you know where Tsunade is? I promised the old man that I would bring her back. After all, she still has me for the family, Naruto concluded. Good luck with that. She lost everything and left the village for good. I've tried to talk to her but it's no good. I guess maybe you can. After the Chunin exams we'll go look for her, Jiraiya said. Any more surprises you have? He asked. Nope, I don't think I have anything more, Naruto replied. So will you train me Baka Arrow Sennin? Naruto asked. Jiraiya twitched at his nickname. Don't call me that, Baka. Fine, I'll teach you a couple of things. Let's go to another spot, he replied. With Naruto and Jiraiya. Okay, I'll teach this killer technique, Jiraiya said and slammed his palm on the ground and erupted in smoke, revealing a toad with a large scroll in his tongue. Summoning contract. I already have one, Naruto said and Jiraiya's eyes twitched. Which one do you have? Jiraiya asked. Foxes, Naruto replied and got a confused face from Jiraiya. There is no fox contract, Jiraiya stated with his arms crossed. Naruto bit his thumb and flashed through hand seals and slammed his hand on the ground. When the smoke cleared, it appeared. This is Kinto, a tracking fox. Naruto fox, and Kinto gave Jiraiya his fox grin. Where did you get it? Jiraiya asked. Kyuubi gave it to me, Naruto said and Jiraiya was godsmacked. You already talked to him? Jiraiya asked and Naruto nodded. Just be careful. Foxes are known to be cunning, Jiraiya said. Naruto nodded. If he knew Kurama's cage was open he would freak, Naruto thought, chuckling. So anything else you can teach me? Naruto asked. Fine, let's start with this, Jiraiya said. The next couple of jutsus are of my own creation. Use your Sharingan, it's easier to memorize the seals, Jiraiya said and Naruto activated his eyes. Ninpu, Hari Jizu, Needle Guardian, Jiraiya said and immediately his hair grew out and formed a shell around his body protecting him. Your turn, he said. That's cool. I wonder what mine will look like since I'm blonde, Naruto said and performed the same as Jiraiya. After the third try Naruto could perform this jutsu effortlessly and could rely on it for combat. Good. Remember, this jutsu only protects from B ranks and below, Jiraiya explained and Naruto nodded. Also, if you intend to rely on this jutsu for defense you should let your hair grow a bit like mine so it would be quicker to use, Jiraiya explained. Now, I want to check if your Rasengan is up to the standards. Clash it with mine, Jiraiya said and Naruto raised an eyebrow. I want to see if the compression, rotation and general power is good enough, Jiraiya explained and Naruto nodded and both jumped back a few meters facing each other. Both dashed forward with their palms facing one another and yelled, Rasengan, at the same time. Both spheres clashed against one another, both fighting for supremacy. The confrontation continued for a few seconds until both spheres exploded and sent both Jiraiya and Naruto flying in opposite directions. They quickly regained their senses and landed on the ground without much trouble. Your Rasengan is good, Jiraiya said. Oh, by the way, who are you facing in the finals? He asked. I'm facing the last Uchiha, Naruto said, chuckling. He'll be in one hell of a ride when he finds out he isn't the last Uchiha, Jiraiya said, laughing. Eros Sennin, Naruto called out, and his sensei's eye twitched. You trained my father, right? He asked, and Jiraiya nodded before he continued. Do you know how he trained the Hirishin? He asked. What do you mean? Jiraiya asked until a realization hit him. Don't tell me you can use it as well, he asked. Yes, I finished my version of the Shiki formula a couple months ago, but it's hard for me to do multiple jumps in quick succession. I tend to crash into something, Naruto explained. You said you finished your version of the Shiki formula. Jiraiya stated with his hand on his chin. How good are you with seals? He asked. Seal Master level 10 inches, Naruto stated, and Jiraiya crossed his arms and pouted, muttering something in genius blondes. I know your father used to train by placing Hirishin seals on multiple places, making it kinda like a circuit. I believe he also trained his own agility and flexibility as well. He had the same problem as you when he first began, Jiraiya explained. Thanks, I'll do that, Naruto said. Eros Sennin, I've been wondering, do you know who my godmother is? He asked, and Jiraiya raised an eyebrow. Godmother? I believe your mother chose Hyuga Hana. After all, Hana and Hiyashi were your parents' best friends, Jiraiya explained while reminiscing about a few fun memories. Hinata-chan's mother. Who would have known? Naruto said. What makes it so surprising? Jiraiya asked. Hinata is my girlfriend, Naruto stated, and that sent Jiraiya into a fit of perverted giggles, making Naruto's eye twitch and wonder if it was wise to tell him that. I knew you were a heartthrob. You are going to make me richer. Just like your parents, Jiraiya said. What do you mean? Naruto was confused, but when it came to his godfather he already expected anything. I'm the author of these amazing books, Jiraiya said, and took an already too familiar orange book from his clothes. One of these books is based on your parents, Jiraiya said, giggling like a fangirl with a trickle of blood on his nose. You spied on my parents? Naruto asked, but it was more of a statement. Jiraiya nodded, quite proud of his accomplishments. If you do that to me and Hinata, I'll shove a Reikiri up your, Naruto said, and Jiraiya shivered at the thought. Calm down, it was only a joke, or not, Jiraiya said, laughing his off at his expression. Are you really a Sannin? Naruto asked, getting more and more dubious of his supposed toad sage of a godfather. Just forget it. Let's continue the training, Jiraiya said, and thought for a moment. Have you tried to use the Kyuubi's power? He asked. I already can the Kyuubi's full power, Naruto said, much to the shock of Jiraiya. What do you mean full power? Jiraiya asked. When I met my father at 5 years old, he opened the Kyuubi's cage so I could access all of his chakra, Naruto explained. You can control him? Jiraiya said, astonished. There were only a few people in history that could control the power of a Biju. They were Yagura the Sanbi Jinchuriki and Killer Bee the Hachibi Jinchuriki. That's the point. You don't control them, you work with them, Naruto explained. Are you telling me that you are friends? He asked. Pretty much, and I'm looking for a way to set him free. He doesn't deserve to be locked up and used as a weapon, Naruto said. You don't seem crazy, so if you are trying to set him free and Minato opens the cage, I assume it wasn't his fault that Kyuubi attacked 14 years ago, Jiraiya said. Exactly, when I was being born someone attacked my mother and removed the Kyuubi from her. Then he used the Sharingan to control him and attacked the village, Naruto explained. But only Madara managed to control him, Jiraiya said. I know that from the history books, however my father knew it wasn't Madara. After all, my father would recognize his father's chakra signature, Naruto said. That makes more sense. Your father was a seal master, there was no way the seal would break with him present, Jiraiya stated. Should I tell him about the Akatsuki? He seems much more mature than children of his age and he already is strong, Jiraiya thought. I wasn't planning on telling you this, but I see that you are mature enough to understand, Jiraiya said in a very serious tone. What is it now? Naruto asked. There is a group of S-ranked criminals called Akatsuki and they are after the Biju, Jiraiya said. Why can't my life be simple? Naruto said as he sat on the ground. My life since birth has been an S-rank mission. I'm hated by almost everyone and now I'll be chased by cage-level ninjas, he said, sighing. You will have it rough, but you have people that care about you. You have me, the Hokage, your girlfriend, and I bet you have more friends, Jiraiya said, and Naruto slowly nodded. Cling to those that care about you and ignore the rest, he concluded. I guess, Naruto said. What's your dream? Jiraiya asked. To become Hokage, Naruto said with a small smile. The same dream as both his parents. I'll do my best to guide you there, Jiraiya thought. Then don't give up. Fight for what you want, Jiraiya said. I never give up and I never surrender, for that's my ninja way, Naruto said with renewed vigor as he jumped to his feet. Jiraiya smiled. Naruto remembered Minato and Kushina so much it was scary. He had Minato's intellect and Kushina's personality. Let's go, I'll treat you to some dinner, Jiraiya said. Yes, ramen, here we go, Naruto said, and Jiraiya froze. No, not ramen, Jiraiya thought while he cried anime tears in his mind. So friends, this was episode 1 of this powerful and emotional story. If you enjoyed it and want the next episode soon, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Also comment down your thoughts. Do you think Naruto's Madara lineage will become his greatest strength or his greatest challenge? I'll see you in the next episode.